It's time for the Alien Conspiracy Podcast. We are your hosts, Agent ETA,
Agent Kruger,
and Agent Anderson. Come along as we examine UFO sightings, conspiracies, and all things strange. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. Do you have a strange story, bizarre event, or UFO sighting you'd like to share with the show? Or perhaps a question or comment for one of the hosts? If so, we could be contacted at alienconpod@protonmail.com. All right, let's get to it, boys. This week's episode.
Hell yeah.
Tehran 1976. This one's a doozy. But before we get into that, there's actually a couple of items I wanted to mention. Last month in February, I don't know if you guys saw this, an American Airlines plane saw a long cylindrical object. I didn't realize how that sounded when I was writing my notes down here, but okay. An American Airlines plane saw a long cylindrical object fly right overhead. The pilot said that it was a cruise missile type thing. That's actually a quote, cruise missile type thing. Huh. And it seemed to me like he was suggesting it kind of looked like it could have been a cruise missile, but it wasn't a cruise missile. But Either way, this is similar to other sightings in the past, and this happened around White Sands Proving Grounds. Some people think that it might have been, a missile test or something like that. But the idea that the government would be testing missiles anywhere near commercial airliners is just insane. It's just not gonna happen. So
sounds unlikely to me.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting case, and the reason I wanted to point this out is I see these occasionally popping up. So the reason I wanted to point this out is because we do on the show, I like to do historical stuff because those are the kind of cases that I really enjoy. But people still see UFOs all the time. Every day people are reporting UFOs. So it's still current. Because I've seen skeptics talking in social media and whatever, talking about, well, how come people don't see UFOs anymore? I don't see any UFOs. Nobody sees them anymore, which is not true. People see them all the time.
Yeah, that's not true at all. And not only is it not true, but from what I've been seeing, I actually think that the numbers are increasing, and that might be a consequence of technology. Most of us have phones on our hips at all point that can not only take a picture but take video too. So
I would agree with that, though. I think it's gonna be harder to find, if anything. I think in the coming years there's gonna be a huge event and a huge revealance, and we've all been kind of like waiting for it this entire time. We've all been ready for it, and it's because technology has, given us the power to have information at our tips of our fingers, man. It's wild stuff.
Well, and we're being made ready for it, I think, actually. I mean, we've hinted and talked a little bit about like soft disclosure, on this channel before, and I'm a firm believer in it, to be quite honest. With some of the stuff, especially that has happened in recent years, man, I gotta be honest. I really do think soft disclosure is a thing.
Right.
But, I mean, but that's that's a conversation for like a whole episode, to be quite honest. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with that, but I digress. We need to get back on topic, man.
Yeah, well,
this is a good damn topic.
Actually, I kind of wanted to mention a little bit about, you mentioned cell phones and whatnot, and the skeptics also say, well, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody walks around nowadays with a camera in their pocket, basically. Yeah, in the past, you could say, well, how come in the 50s, why don't we have a photograph? Well, nobody had a camera back then, but everybody's got one now, so why don't we have more good UFO photos? Well, the fact is that the cameras on your phones are designed for taking selfies, not for filming aircraft or UFOs high up in the altitude. Yeah. They're just not good cameras. I mean, the lenses are, the sensors might be really high quality sensors, like, gazillion megapixels or whatever, but the lenses are not good at all. And that's why they'll have, most cell phones nowadays will have like 3 different cameras on the front so that because they can't zoom in and out. They can't focus like a camera. So it'll select the camera for whatever autofocus it's looking at. But anyways, that aside, a couple years ago, I saw a big Mylar balloon. When you go to the grocery store and they have those shiny balloons, and they have like the small ones, and then they have the bigger ones. Well, it looked like it had been released maybe from a birthday party or whatever. But either way, I saw it floating in the air a couple hundred yards away, and it was like really bright, and you could definitely tell what it was. So I'd always thought that this idea that there should be more UFO photos, I'd always kind of questioned that myself. So I said, well, let's do an experiment here. So I recorded a video of the Mylar balloon with my phone just to see if I was right, that, my hunch. So basically it's based on the fact that, film studios that film movies, they buy like $30,000 movie cameras to film their movies. They don't do it on iPhones. And you know how some of these producers, how stingy they are, how miserly they are. They would not buy a $30,000 camera unless they had to, right? So I filmed it, and when I looked back on the video, you could kind of see that there was something shiny there. You could not tell it was a balloon. It looked like there might have been something, but you couldn't tell what it was. The video was not at all representative of what you saw in the naked eye. So I just wanted to throw that little anecdote out there just because, hey, why not? I thought of it.
Well, and when you're trying to videotape something that far away too, like the digital zoom like feature that is on most phones nowadays, like obviously it's just going to make it, much more pixelated, and it's not going to help you see what you're trying to videotape any better, but yeah, one of the things I see that is very common nowadays is you do see a lot of like pictures or videotape that has been captured on phones, but it's exactly what you describe. It's so piss poor, I guess you could say, once you actually upload it and like, try to experience the video. What you're seeing in real life is gonna be far better, obviously. So those videos, I see them posted, and all of them or most of them are easily just like kind of written off, because not only can you not really see what the person was trying to videotape, but you have no idea what's going on at all. It's just like most of them look like they're there's a tiny little dot in the sky that somebody's trying to focus on,
like a tadpole.
Yeah, there's nowhere near enough definition or size, because of the lack of a zoom function like a real one, and it's no wonder why all these cameras that are around nowadays haven't caught the type of evidence that we're talking about.
Well, they could. I mean, the lenses in them, they wouldn't be able to. I mean, we are actually moving into the next chapter in that world, obviously, because I mean, we're getting like four or five cameras on the back of our phones now. So it's going to be interesting.
It's not there yet. I mean, there's going to have to be some.
If you can't get that picture of a moon, if you can't like the moon in shot, like because of the brightness or whatever the hell it might be, I've never been able to successfully get a moon shot with my phone.
Oh man, all I'm hearing right now is moon gazing. Have you ever moon gazed before?
No, I did once. Yeah, and then it started moving on me, and I started.
Dude, I find the moon so very interesting. Just to stare at, like it's like hypnotizing. I don't know. It's weird, man. Like, especially if you have like now I personally don't have one, but I've been looking for, just kind of researching it here and there, casually. But I would like to,
telescope.
Get some kind of a decent telescope and moon gaze, because I've seen some video online of people who, have a nice enough telescopes where they can actually record what they're watching, right? And some of the stuff that I've seen is very intriguing. But the thing is, the videotape is so grainy and stuff, like it could be fake for sure.
You're talking about those ships that were hovering above the surface or whatever?
That's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them. But that definitely could be a fake video.
I'm skeptical on that one.
I have no doubt that it could be a fake video, and that's actually kind of the way I lean. But there's always that little twinkle in the back of my dome piece. What if? But what if, dude? What if it is real? Holy mother of God. Like, I would love to moon gaze and actually experience something like that, if it is real, I'm not saying I expect that, but if it were to happen, like, oh man, that would be an experience of a lifetime right there, I don't know. It's just, but like, but I digress. Let's get back on the topic though, man. We don't need to be talking about moon gazing and stuff, man. We got this subject right here that's plenty interesting enough by itself.
On the topic of moon gazing, just real quick, I actually have some big old 70 millimeter binoculars. I'm telling you, dude, binoculars are the way to go if you want to look at the moon. It's just so much better because you get like that. You get the 3D kind of look to it.
Oh, okay.
Looks awesome. But anyways, let's get to it.
Hell yeah.
So I guess I'll get us started here. Yeah. So actually, I had another update I wanted to talk about. The first one I want to talk about was the UFO story, but I actually have an update on a previous case file that we did, which was Britney Spears' case. If people haven't been following that, the New York Times actually made a documentary about her called Framing... What?
Hey, real quick, what is this we word you're using?
Yeah, I know you're not into the Brady conspiracy, but check this out. So her father has been removed from making investment decisions for her from her conservatorship, so they've taken that step. And it does look like her father's control over her has been unraveling. Also, the New York Times made a documentary called Framing Britney Spears that I haven't seen it yet, but it's supposed to be about around 2007 when she was portrayed in the media as being out of control and crazy. That's part of the conspiracy, is that her publicist and her manager worked with the paparazzi, and if they knew she was going to be drunk or whatever, they would call them to try to portray her in a negative light so that they could get this whole conservatorship thing done in the first place. And by the way,
try to like get pictures of her like getting out of the car and stuff with a skirt on.
Yeah,
that's all,
and I covered this a little bit on the episode I did, but I just for ETA's enjoyment, Lindsay Lohan, the same manager, Lou Taylor, who was involved with putting the conservatorship on Britney Spears, also allegedly attempted to do the same thing with Lindsay Lohan when she was having her meltdown, but supposedly Lohan's father did not go along with it, so it didn't happen. So, I mean, there's a lot to this conspiracy, but it is a real thing, in my opinion. But, laugh all you want. Hey, man, they stole $1 million or hundreds of millions of dollars from her. No laughing matter. But anyways.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Let's get to the case. Allegedly. I'll probably edit that out. The allegedly stole buddy.
Well, it's like the Gary Oldman stuff. Not Gary Oldman, my bad. But, man, I'm forgetting his name. He's a small person. And, oh, god dang it. Never mind. Just move on.
Hey, you remember that movie Willow?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that actor.
What an awesome movie, dude. Madigan, you are great.
Yeah. Dude. That is a good movie. That's a really good movie.
Dude, there's so many quotable, there's so many different scenes that I remember, from my childhood and experiencing that movie. It was such a wondrous, experience for me. You know what I mean? It just happened to capture my imagination. I stole the baby.
Yeah. Well, the movie just feels epic, like an epic adventure. It's a lot of fun.
Well, because it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because it is. It was. And it still is,
A lot of movies try to have that epic feel, and most of them fail. There's very few of them that actually have that epic feel to them. Indiana Jones is another one that comes to mind, where it just feels like this epic adventure.
Yeah, well, that movie in particular, Willow, is one of those movies, the way it was shot, where it was shot, the casting was just on point. I mean, you can't get it any better, I think.
Yeah,
I gotta throw this in the hat.
You got Val Kilmer in his prime, dude.
When it comes to epics, no, you're good. I would say the most surprising epic that I fell in love with was Empire of the Sun with Christian Bale as a kid.
Oh, right, yeah.
That still that's an immense epic.
That's actually a really good movie too, on a completely different way though. It's not as much of an adventure.
Yeah. It's like a twisted adventure in my opinion. Well, I see it in an abstract way when it comes to if you take a step back and apply his life to novel or fantasy, he was a prince. You know what I mean? He was born with a silver spoon in hand. Mm-hmm. And then, a fall from grace and just a descent into madness and survival. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, I won't go into that movie, but sorry, I was gonna talk about the ending of it, but I was like, nah, you know what? We're getting too distracted here.
Spoilers. Sorry. Hey, spoilers.
Hey, they drop a nuke on Japan.
Yeah. The end. All right. So anyways, let's get into it, man. Tehran, 1976, UFO.
Hail to the freaking dude.
Yeah, so I want to start off by saying you can, like I mentioned earlier, I got some documents from the Black Vault for this, and you could look on those documents. It says where it was sent. We sent it here, we sent it there, whatever, on the cover page, and it shows that they were taking this very seriously because they sent it to the CIA, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the White House, the Secretary of State, and the NSA. And this is from the DIA, I believe. So you got like pretty much all the major players they're basically sending a briefing to on this event. Why would they do that if they weren't interested in the UFOs? And the routing slip for the original intelligence document says a lot of things on that slip to summarize things, but one of the important things it says is that it met the criteria for a valid UFO study, which again shows that they're taking this seriously. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because supposedly when they closed Project Blue Book in 1969/1970, depending on how you want to look at it, they closed Project Blue Book and they said that we are no longer investigating UFOs. That's what our government told us. So how come in 1976 we're still looking at UFO reports? Our government is. And if you've listened to previous episodes on this show, I believe it was on the second episode, but a long time ago I talked about the Bollinger Memo. And the Bollinger Memo was the memo, one of the things that, in the memo it said, we can close Project Blue Book because a quote from the memo is, reports of unidentified flying objects which could affect national security are made in accordance with JANAP 146 or Air Force Manual 55-11 and are not part of the Blue Book system. That's what they said in the memo suggesting the closure of Blue Book. They're saying, look, we don't need Blue Book anyways. We got this other stuff. And in that episode, I talk about JANAP 146 and the Manual 55-11. I won't go into that here because it's a little bit off topic. The point being that we know for a fact through several documents that when they said that they were no longer taking UFOs seriously, they absolutely were. And through that, you can sort of infer that Project Blue Book was sort of like a public-facing group or organization that was designed basically to kind of debunk and minimize things, not really investigate things. Despite some of the people working for it trying hard to investigate it, overall, that was probably not its purpose, at least not from what everything I've put together. Doesn't really make sense that was what they were for,
Yeah.
But
I think they were trying to avoid panic. I mean, we went through hysteria. I mean, not hysteria. I apologize, but we go through periods where we're at war, and then we're racist towards the faction that is the dominant race there, if that makes sense. In my opinion, the government couldn't just outright say, "Yeah, we have them here." Find them. And then we go through this whole manhunt and this whole witch hunt, if you will, where we're just, I think it would have gone crazy. I think I don't think as crazy as the government would scale it to, but I definitely think there would have been a group of people that are, like, there would be friction, especially the religious type.
Well, I mean, all right, so let's get to the base level, like, set of events that happened in 1976, September 19th. And it started, from what I understand, around like 12:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah. Just after midnight. Well, I found some different reports. Like, I found some newspaper articles that supposedly interviewed some people, but newspaper articles aren't real reliable in my opinion. But according to them, it started the previous night at like 10:30, and then people were reporting stuff throughout the night. But I don't know. But the military documents say 12:30, just after midnight, and that's probably the more reliable source. So we'll go with that.
Yeah. It said clear autumn morning,
just after midnight.
right. Sorry. Yeah.
So the airport there had gotten a what was it? Like 4 or 5 like calls from citizens at least.
4 were reported from what I read.
Okay, it was a 4. Okay, and they were complaining about very similar things. A light in the sky. The shape of the object was similar as far as what everybody was describing. And at first, from what I understand, like many different occasions like this, the reports weren't really taken that seriously, right? Until some of the staff that was working there, including the what is the title? I forget the
commanding officer, CO.
Yeah. What was his name?
He was Imperial Iranian Air Force Command. I forgot his name. Oh, geez, I'm falling on my face here. But yeah, no, you're right. He
I
stepped
did
down
first,
until
so.
his eyes graced the situation. He determined, scramble the fucking jets. Let's get him up there. And I mean,
yeah. So the reports had been made, and like they didn't necessarily take him that seriously at first until, a visual observation of what had been described was observed, and then they actually decided to scramble, a jet, they scrambled one of the F-4 Phantoms, and the first one, it's to me it's very interesting because what the pilots claim to have had happened while they're the first one and the second one, because they're two very different experiences, it seems. The first one, by the time that jet had got like was it within like 25 miles, was it, or 23 miles?
Nautical miles, yeah. 25.
Well, yeah.
It was visible from 70, and then when they approached it at 25 nautical miles, they got hit with the electrical disturbance in their instruments.
Yeah, and it shut off their communications, and it also shut off their ability to navigate as well, right?
Communicate, yeah.
Yeah. And what did I say?
I think you said it. I might have just repeated what you said. My bad.
Did I just say you said what I said.
You
twice?
keep saying what I said. I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking. My bad.
Whatever, dude. Anyways, that first plane that had been scrambled, it lost multiple different abilities, not only to communicate but also to navigate. But once that they saw that this had happened, they kind of turned back, right? And they got out of range of the first instance and like regained some of their control, right?
Yeah. So what I saw, the military report that I looked at was not super detailed, but like I said, I saw like an interview in a newspaper article, and that interview said, again, take it with a grain of salt, but supposedly that in the military document or the government document from the DIA, it seems like that encounter is very short, but the interview said that they chased the UFO around at over Mach 2 for a while and they couldn't catch it. So then they returned back to base, suggesting that they were tearing ass all over the damn place trying to catch this thing, and then they couldn't, which is, like you said, different from the second F4. But before we go on to the other F4, I just want to talk a little bit about the capabilities of the F4, because this is sort of one of those planes that didn't get as many movies made about it. Like, no Tom Cruises or anything like that. None of this. But
it's a very well made piece of machinery. It's very reliable, and it's standing the test of time. Like those planes were used through a very broad period of time. Well, by multiple different countries.
They still are used. So their max speed is Mach 2.2.
Yeah,
give or take, right? Mach 2.2. That's crazy considering how long ago that was. That's like, remember the SR-71 that still has the speed record, by the way, which is also pretty cool, that it still has a speed record for an air breathing manned aircraft. There's obviously rockets go faster, but anyways, that's like something like Mach 3, give or take. So this is like not that far behind it. This thing is really freaking fast, and this thing was in service like a long time ago. But anyways, it was used throughout the Vietnam War, and then it was replaced gradually in the 80s, probably even late 70s, by like stuff like the F-15, 14, 16, and F-18, the ones you've seen in movies. But it was in service, the F-4 was in service until 1996, and 63 years or 64 years now, I think, after it started being produced originally, it's still in service in Iran, Japan, South Korea, and Turkey. All right, sorry, I just had to throw that in there. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to that stuff, because I don't know.
But it isn't the progression of aviation technology when it comes to what's being used like in the public sphere or realm, whatever you want to call it. It's even in like regular combat throughout the decades, what's been used, there has been like really big advances, but like from let's just say like from World War II to now. There has been, obviously some really big improvements, but there has been some long periods of time where it doesn't seem like there was really anything happening. You know what I mean? Like
we went through an odd transition, that's for sure. And it's interesting to look up some of the things we were going to use or we thought would be the future.
Well, no, yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of yeah in line with what I'm saying is what I'm saying is like you'd think that we'd be a little bit farther along now as far as like the technology that we have implemented, in the public realm as far as like the improvements we've made in the private, I mean in the military realm.
That really makes me want to jump in real quick, Agent ETA. That I believe I touched base on that a little bit last week when we met up briefly. Was that you could see along our history where we're jamming, we're progressing as human beings, and it seems like the sky is our limit. But like Phil J. Klass type of de facto or whatever have you, agent to go disrupt the truth. He like just that type cut from the same cloth. Like there was somebody who was too scared of the truth or progression or whatever the hell it was, and they hindered us in some way. We were hindered, whether it be through sugary foods or fluoride or whatever have you. Like
fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, I feel like we were derailed. We were purposely halted in our pursuit to like expand, and I think we definitely are. We're behind for sure where we should have been, but now that we're slowly, I feel like like technology and stuff like that. Maybe we're gonna start smelling the coffee more and more and wake the hell up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know which way to kind of land on the side, what side of the argument to land on as far as like, do I want to be positive or negative about the future? I mean, there's some really positive things to realize about people nowadays, and there's some really negative shit too. The way that culture is going. I think one of the really positive things, just to touch on it real quick, is that man, there's a lot of people right now caring to be well informed. Actually, I think because there is a lot of readily available information, about all kinds of damn topics. Whatever, if you're somebody who is interested in something, whether it be something related to history, something related to economics, something related to whatever, mathematics, whatever you want to talk about, physics, anything, the information is out there, and if you have that hunger, you're going to be able to satisfy that hunger, if you put the proper effort towards it, right? But that's one of the things that really I find very promising right now, because the availability of information really is vast, but I don't know. I think we should probably get back on topic.
Oh no, I was gonna swing it back around. I didn't mean to take it off.
Well, no, we need to swing back around. I'm sure I had some kind of segue, but I'm gonna go ahead and forego that because
I want to go back a little bit. I don't think we mentioned what the civilian witnesses described the UFO as, because I think those descriptions are pretty dang interesting. So I just wanted to throw those out there real quick. One witness said that it looked like a fan with 4 blades. Another witness said that it looked like a helicopter with a bright beam, but they didn't have any helicopters in the air over at that time, according to the intelligence report anyways. And another witness said that it would divide in 2 and then join together again. And another one said it would change shapes rapidly. So that's kind of those are interesting descriptions. And it almost seems like, did they see the same object? Maybe there were multiple objects. Perhaps they were seeing the same object from different angles. Who knows? But yeah, I just wanted to throw those in there real quick before we go further on the story
even
here.
The pilots, I mean, describing what the sizes of these things, I mean, being 1/3 the size of the moon. Like, I mean, that's
1/3 to 1/2.
Right? Like, that's pretty sizable. I mean, and then not only that, but I keep seeing this related topic that keeps coming up through sightings. Helicopter-like. I keep seeing like that pop up, and even a buddy of mine who had an experience where he was convinced, and he had it on. It's funny because you're mentioning our cell phones being able to capture UFOs, was that, and our inability to capture proper evidence, is that's what he had, and he was convinced at what he saw, and it was hard to change his mind after the fact. So he would sit there going like, yeah, this thing keeps coming back, and it's in the form of a helicopter, I swear, and it transforms up in the fucking air. And he would just be passionate about it and damn near delusional about it. But, you know, I just keep seeing it. I keep, you know, like this, you know, and it just keeps making me wonder. Food for thought.
I've heard stories like that before. There's a decent number of people who claim to see things like that. And some of them believe that what you're seeing is whatever entity you're seeing is choosing to show you a certain image, but that's not what it really looks like. It's kind of changes shape to sort of for the individual. Like if 10 people look at it, they'll see 10 different things depending on, you know, what the entity wants to, whatever. Like it kind of gets into the spiritual realm at some point.
That's a good point. Yeah. Like demons and all that. I totally get where you're going. And then there's also what our perception of reality will allow us to like convince us that it's normal. Oh, that's, you know, that's just a plane. Oh no, that's just a helicopter. And it's like, no, that's your brain trying to tell you what the hell it is, but it can't figure it out.
Well, and one of the other descriptions that I also saw that was pretty common was like, they said that the light that the craft was emitting was almost like a strobe light, but it was putting off like a you know, a wide array of different colors, like, you know, a
blue,
bunch of different ones, like
red, orange,
just all violet. Violet is one of the colors that I heard described a couple different times, and I actually kind of think that violet is it's one of those. If somebody is going to say that they saw violet, you know, I think that's actually kind of important because that's not a common reoccurring color. You know what I mean? If you are adamant about seeing violet, then I think that, you know, that actually speaks to something more than just seeing that color, I guess is kind of what I'm saying, you know?
Or like a magenta type of color, right? Violet.
Is I don't know how to quite describe it, but it almost like to me adds more credibility. I don't know how to describe, like how to reason that or describe that reasoning.
Or where they're coming up with a specific color and not like, oh, it was, you know,
exactly.
Red. Oh, it was this.
There
it
you
was
go.
That. It wasn't just one base generic color. It was a wide variety.
Yeah,
it was a dance,
it's a very specific color.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that help, my friend, dude.
No worries.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And then, I mean, some of the maneuverability that these ships were like, you know, actually doing and performing in the heat of, you know, from various, you know, descriptions of the event where these F4 Phantoms were screaming through the sky at Mach 2, you know, as what was reported, and that they couldn't keep up with these things. But as soon as these jets would peel off or even try to engage with one, I mean, like when what I believe the second F4 pilot described the size of that, the actual object that detached from what they were originally going towards, and that it broke off formation with whatever they were engaging with, the unidentified flying object, and it started coming straight to them at a high rate of speed. He went diving down, if I'm not mistaken, on a high G dive.
All right. So first of all, if
this is serious shit. I mean, you can't. I apologize to cut. Like I have family who's in the military, and that they are pilots. They are aviators. They cannot go around and just willy nilly perform actions in the sky. Like, you know, it's just a video game.
They don't make rash decisions.
Correct.
They're very precise in their thought process, and they're trained to be so. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
These are highly trained individuals that we're talking about. If you're able to fly one of these vehicles proficiently, you're probably more intelligent than your average individual. You know what I mean? You have to be. There's no way around it. You have to be. You know what I mean? So at any rate, you know, I think that, you know, these past testimonies really do kind of, you know, stand above your regular testimony. They have more, in my opinion, it's more credible than your you know, average testimonies.
This goes back to the Arizona case, in my opinion, with the witness being a police officer, law enforcement, and it was somebody who was well known throughout the community. And I think that it stands on its own. And another thing, these guys did not go out and try to receive clout. It scared the shit out of them, whatever they witnessed. This was a real event.
Hey, edit.
What's up?
I'm going to scream it out. Edit. Hey, Dude, I gotta piss so goddamn bad right now.
All right, go for it.
I'll be back, dude. All right,
Watch out.
It's about that time. All right. Well, actually, speaking of previous episodes, we didn't really describe what happened with the second F4 all that well. But one of the things that it reminded me of is, I don't think you were on the episode, Agent Kruger, but we did an episode on the Portage County UFO case, or it was a police chase, right? And one of the things that happened was the UFO would outrun them, but it would stay a constant distance. Like, it would let the police car chase it, but only get so close, and then it would move off. It would keep a certain distance. And that's kind of like what was described here, is that it wouldn't let with the F4s, it would not let the F4s get too close.
Too close, yeah.
But even though it could clearly outmaneuver and outspeed the F4s, it kept them within a certain distance, kind of like it was observing them, or maybe testing out the capabilities or whatever, just checking them out, scanning them with their, alien scanners or whatever the heck it was doing. I don't know. But let's talk about the second one in a little bit more detail. The second F4 was sent out about 10 minutes after the first F4. And when he flew towards, or it's actually two people in the cockpit, they flew towards, and when they were about 27 miles away, they got a lock on the object. When they were 25 miles away, the object that's when it started moving away and keeping a constant distance. Now, their radar return, this is again what I mean. One of the reasons why this case is so good is because we have a radar visual sighting with multiple witnesses. That's one of the key things, always, obviously, is multiple witnesses. But when you can corroborate a visual sighting with radar, now you have real, actual data to work with. So the radar return indicated an object that was approximately the size of a KC-135, which is an aerial refueling tanker. That's what it said in the military report. And I looked that up. Those things are 136 feet long with a 130-foot wide wingspan and 41 feet high. So they're pretty big airplanes. They're one of the bigger size things you're probably going to see. Not the biggest, but they're pretty big. So the pilots...
But the size of it... Oh, sorry. Just going toe-to-toe with an F4 Phantom. I mean...
That's what the radar return size was. But, okay, so moving on with that, they described it as being so bright, though, that the pilots, even though they got fairly close to it, they couldn't really tell a specific shape or size because it was like super bright. Although some descriptions said it was like cylindrical with lights on the ends and stuff like that. But they said it resembled a flashing strobe light, and it was arranged in a rectangular pattern, and it alternated green, blue, red, and orange. So you said you saw violet from a different report. The military report I saw only said blue, green, red, orange. But that report was it seemed like a very condensed version. So it's possible that they left out a lot of witness testimonies.
It could have also been the merging of colors. That said the sequence was so fast. Oh, apologies.
Yeah, the sequence was so fast that they could see all the colors at once. But there was so much to this case. I was half of the mind to say, let's give it another week so we can look up more of the information, because there's just so much stuff. I didn't have time to look into it all. But I said, nah, let's just do it.
You know what's kind of funny? All right, so there's this series of books by this author called Vaughn Heppner. Yeah, Vaughn Heppner. I think that's his name. Uh-huh. The Lost Starship, and it's like a series of books, right? And there's this like one particular type of like a spaceship that's like the humans are fighting against like a new advanced like a type of human and stuff in this series. And the type of ship that they like, one of the type of ships that they like develop is called a jump ship, and like it's based on like some like ancient like alien technology that they find in some like a far-flung solar system. But like the way that they describe this like a jump ship that they developed because of this lost alien technology that they happen to find, it's very similar. I don't know. It really reminded me of this like immediately when I heard that description. Sorry to go off on that little wild tangent.
No, that's
but
cool.
Like, I don't know. I almost felt like I had to mention it because like that book series, like I think is very freaking good.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, let's get back to the basic description of the second F4 that went out to pursue. So where was I? So the color sequence, and as the F4 pursued, a second brightly lit object half the size of the moon, 1/3 to 1/2 the size of the moon is the description that was given, detached from the first object and flew straight at the F4 at a high rate of speed. Now, I'm imagining at this point in time, the pilots are shitting their pants, like literally
Oh yeah, they're
shitting
freaking
their
out,
pants, right? Could you just imagine, just put yourself, you're a highly trained fighter pilot and you're flying at this thing and a light breaks off of it. Like, what the hell is that? And then it just, boom, shoots right at you and it's right there, like almost immediately.
At that very moment, you're probably thinking we're dead.
Yep.
Like
here
we're
we go.
about to die.
I think no, it's just like there's two pilots in that plane. So the front pilot's like, oh shit, does a nosedive, high G dive, and then the radio, the comm, his co-pilot in the back is eyes and ears at that point, and he's keeping his head on a swivel. I mean, that was a true combat situation. I mean, they don't know. They try in that moment too, if I'm not mistaken. As the object was approaching, he tried engaging. He tried hitting that thing and nope, system malfunction.
Yeah,
I mean,
they actually tried to fire a missile at the approaching object, but when they went to fire the missile, they had a sudden power loss in the weapons control panel and also lost their communications equipment like the other plane. They lost communication with
this
base.
This is the second plane, correct? This is the second plane, right?
Yeah.
And that I want to touch base on that later because that plays into the debunking.
The thing that's very interesting about that missile system that you're talking about is it's a mechanical system. It's set up to work no matter what kind of damage, well, up to a certain point of damage, obviously, that aircraft has taken. So the fact that system malfunctioned the way it did, it's very troubling. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because, like I said, that is a mechanical system. It's not necessarily like an electrical system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, if you think about it, let's say hypothetically, if it is a more advanced species, they're going to be able to manipulate matter in a way that we can't even fathom, in a way that would probably seem magical to us. So for them, manipulating springs and cogs and gears would be child's play, whereas to us it would not,
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't even understand the beginnings of that type of technology. You know, like as I'm sitting here now, I'm trying to think about it, and I don't know, dude.
They might be able to manipulate the very fabric of space-time, so stopping a missile launch would be absolutely no problem at all to them, Now,
if they did have that capability, and that makes me want to believe that I mean, I know that the going rate for a visiting alien race on our planet right now, people's general thought would be, oh no, colonials coming into Native America, and we all know what happened. We didn't get the good, or Native Americans didn't get the great end of the stick, obviously. And that's that's one of my fears. If we ever contact, a civil, like the next level of intelligence out there, that it would have negative consequences. But I don't want to buy that. I would like to just believe that there's some sort of precaution they're taking with us, just like we've described that they let us get so close but not touch, you know what I mean? Or we get like with Travis Walton, I would like to believe that when he was zonked out on the ground and his friends and everybody thought he was dead, that they took him on the ship and tried to provide some sort of aid to him because they don't want to be that I don't know, have a negative impact on us. Like, they want to help in some way. And I want to choose to believe that. So, but yeah, I'll stop that. So
it's not that far of a stretch. It really isn't. Because here's the thing. If there are aliens in contact with us or our governments, whoever they are in contact with, if they are real and they are in contact with us in some way, shape, or form, then obviously and most definitely they are far more advanced technologically than we are, right?
And perhaps even culturally as well.
For sure. Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think you can get to those levels of technological advancement without having also have advanced your culture to achieve that very same goal. Because anyways, because of anyways. I don't want to get into all that bullshit.
Let's not get into that. Yeah.
But at any rate, they obviously are much more advanced in many more ways than we are, right? if that is the case, just assuming that, might be a possibility that they're, the fact that they may be taking their time and not like, just dominating us and taking over everything, because they obviously would be able to. They, how could they not? Whatever they wanted to do to us as that, an advanced race.
Or could it be such a bad situation? What if it's other countries like like we've seen where countries take they're going down. I mean, Nazi Germany was, on the rise and they fled. Like they could be fleeing evil and trying to seek shelter from us.
Well, what I'm saying is that if there are aliens in contact with the human race right now, it seems like they may be malevolent as opposed to aggressive or predatory, because
you mean benevolent?
Benevolent? Yeah.
Wait, did I say malevolent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I did. You know what? You're right. I did. My bad.
Yeah. I don't think that's what you mean, though.
No, yeah.
Well, and I think comparing it against like colonial Europe is not really a fair comparison, because colonial Europe, they were in it for the money, like they were in it for the resources. But if somebody could make it all the way here from another star system, they're not coming here for the resources. They're coming here for other reasons, So they're not going to take our stuff. You don't got to worry about them taking your stuff. They don't want your stuff. They have their own stuff. They don't need your stuff. Don't worry about it, Stephen Hawking. They're not going to get us.
R.I.P. Hawkman, Birdman up there.
Yep. Well, that was a reference to, I believe, unless I'm completely mistaken, if I remember correctly, Stephen Hawking at one point said maybe we shouldn't be beaming out, because a couple times in the past we've actually sent a burst into the stars, hoping that maybe someday an alien will pick it up or something.
It's still traveling. I mean, technically, it is still traveling right now.
But Stephen Hawking said maybe that's not such a good idea, because maybe whoever catches that signal won't be so nice. Maybe not. We don't know. Who knows? There's no way of knowing for sure. But, well, anyways, as you were saying.
ETA?
Oh, wait.
What were you saying? Oh, I don't know. All right.
Oh, shit.
Was I saying something? Or, dude, I already tuned out, dude.
Yeah. All right. And now it's back to the show.
Hey, it's time for the Alien Conspiracy Podcast. Motherfuckers, we are your hosts.
Okay.
Agent ETA.
So we were at the negative G dive, I believe. So they tried to launch a missile, and that failed. And after that failed, the pilots shit their pants and they turned into a negative G dive to try to escape. But the object was able to follow them very closely and fell right in behind them at a distance of about 3 miles. And at this point, they continued to shit their pants even more vigorously, I'm guessing. But so as they were turning, the UFO went and turned inside of their turn. I don't know if the F-4 was not probably like the most sophisticated airplane in the planet, but I very much doubt that there was anything else on the planet that could maneuver compared to an F-4 like this thing was doing. There's no way. So it turned inside of the F-4's turn and then flew off back to the first object. The objects reattached. Then another object, possibly a different third object, came from the other side, and it fell straight down to the ground at a very high rate of speed. At this point, the pilots said that they thought that the object was going to blow up when it reached the ground. That's what they were expecting, because it probably looked like a bomb falling or something. But what happened is it actually slowly drifted to the ground and it settled down onto the ground. Now, about this time, the F-4 regained their weapons and communication system. They flew lower down to spot where this thing had landed, and they said that it was really bright on the ground, and it looked like it was illuminating about a 2 to 3 kilometer area. 2 to 3 kilometer area is pretty flippin' huge. That's not like, a block or something. That's a very large area to be illuminating. So when I read that, I thought maybe they were misinterpreting that, because when you're from the air, maybe it's hard to tell. I don't know. That's really huge to be illuminated from one craft. But anyways, they took note of where the exact location was so that they could go back later and examine that area. And after this, they returned to base, and on their way when they were landing, they had additional radio interference and instrument trouble on the approach to landing. And on the final approach, they saw another UFO, which was a cylindrical object the size of a T-33 trainer, and it had bright and steady lights on each end and a flashing light in the middle. It approached and flew over the F-4 as they were landing. The tower was able to get a visual ID or a visual lock. I don't know. They were able to see it with their eyes as well. But the F-4 told them where to look, and they were able to see it. The next day, the F-4 crew was flown to the area where the object had landed, and with the helicopter, and they looked around, but they didn't find anything. It was a dry lake bed, but it was apparently there was no disturbances of any kind that they could find. They interviewed people that were in a nearby house to ask them if they'd seen anything. And the people said that there were loud noises and they saw bright lights that looked like lightning flashes. The area of the dry lake bed was further examined, supposedly, and tests were taken, whatever. But that data was never reported to our military that I was able to find. Yeah, so that's basically the second F-4 in a nutshell, just to kind of put the whole thing out there before we discuss more of the nuances.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, there was also supposed to be like some of the tower control operators that
I was about to
claimed
say
that the actual tower got buzzed by that UFO.
Oh, they actually reported that they had to the pilot's question. He was asking, did you guys see anything? They reported that there was no like air traffic in the area that they could visually see until they were directed to specifically look in a general direction. Then they saw it. They definitely saw it at that point. But other than that, it was pretty under the radar up until a visual confirmation or like, hey guys, I need you to look at this.
Oh, and also there was a third airplane, apparently an airliner, a passenger airliner that was in the general area. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't get a visual confirmation as well. It was actually only instrumental interruption, similar to what the Phantoms were going through. And
right.
I think that's another. There's a lot of stories too, and I'm sorry to kind of again go a little off the beaten path here, but there just seems to be a lot of there was 4 suburban suburbanites, whatever you call them, that called the residents that made the initial calls because of the sightings that they saw. There was, other people that live there, obviously. It's not a tiny, tiny country. So it's, there had to have been a spectacle in the sky and like a bunch of suppressed information. And we're not going to hear every report. We're just going to hear what the most intense one was, right? And so far, that should show our manipulation in the media when it comes to just letting us have access to everything, be involved in everything. Who cares? Who gives a shit? That's no, I do. I definitely would like to hear about current events in other places for sure. I mean, that's, yeah.
Well, one of the things about, I think, Agent Kruger, you mentioned a little earlier, you're going to talk about some of the skeptical explanations, but the fact that the airliner also had an avionics disruption, to me, disproves one of the foremost skeptical theories, which is, so one of the skeptics said, oh yeah, those F-4s, they were crappy, they had avionics problems all the time.
Right.
So what happened was, they just saw Jupiter, and they had an avionics failure at the same time. But if the airliner also had an avionics failure at the same time for the same reason, that pretty much you can't say it was the F-4 had shitty avionics. If it's a completely unrelated airplane, it's just completely different circumstances are also having the exact same problem.
He was scoping into one plane. Sorry, Agent ETA. He was focusing on one plane though. In his initial report, what I read,
that particular plane was supposed to have some pre-existing problems.
Correct. Yes.
But that same pilot
the other one.
Also said that those problems that arose during the experience that he had weren't the same as the problems he had experienced before.
Can we create a theoretical moment here and say what would be a moment? Like, what would the intention of the UFO be if that pilot didn't take that nosedive and that it completely silenced all radio communication? Would we have been dealing with just a MIA pilot? Just, you know what I mean? Like they disappear,
Well,
like no trace.
Here's the way I look at it. Obviously, if you're going to assume that these objects that they were observing were real, they were so much more technically advanced. If they wanted to destroy those fighter jets, then they would have been able to, no doubt. Just by the way that they were making maneuvers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, how would your reaction be if you were an alien? I'm sorry, Agent Anderson. I just wanted to throw this in there real quick. Is that, what if you're there and you're not supposed to fucking be there? And I mean, you will start a whole mess, just a whole can of worms. You know, whatever, it's like some intergalactic treaty or some sort of, we don't mess with them. That is rule number one. And then you have the hooligans.
So you wouldn't make yourself be so present, would you?
No, exactly. And then if you were caught, you start panicking, right? And what better way
if you were observed? Well, obviously, when I speak of technological sophistication, these vehicles, if they are real, if they wanted to make themselves be known, then they would, and obviously they did. You know, if this is all to be believed, you know what I mean. So, not only would they be able to destroy anything that we have, I mean, F4s or not, whatever the highest level of sophistication that was at the time, or even now, considering what these vehicles were described to have been capable of, you know what I mean. Like many other occasions that we talk about, other case files and stuff, they could have done whatever the hell they wanted to. If they wanted to be noticed, then they were noticed. If they were noticed, then they meant to be noticed, is what I mean. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So, yeah, I was actually going to say that, because if you look at how bright they were, and they're having like flashing lights, they're blinking, they're so bright they illuminate a 3-kilometer area on the ground. It's almost like they're saying, "Hey, check us out. Here we are. Hey, come and get us."
Yeah, here I am. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on the show before, I believe, but it almost seems like they're just kind of seeing, like, what are they going to do? Are they going to be aggressive towards us? Because if they come and they say, "Here we are," and then we go and try to launch a missile at them, well, they know that, okay, maybe these guys aren't ready yet for us to contact them if this is how they're going to act. We need to wait, a few more decades or whatever. Yeah. And there's so many cases where you can interpret it as sort of like a test like this. Like, for example, one of my favorites, the Kelly Goblins, where these creatures, they walk towards the house with their hands up. They didn't do anything aggressive. They didn't try to get into the house. They just walked towards the house. And then when they were blown away with the shotgun, then they flew off or whatever. But they never did anything aggressive. It seems very similar, like they're testing us or something.
Yeah, and that plays into the theories I was hearing in high school even. I mean, like 10 years ago. I mean, crazy. I mean, oh my gosh, 11 years ago now that I say it. That once we as a planet were ready to accept extraterrestrial life, that's when they will make that real appearance. But everything up until that point is going to be a shit test. And it's going to be exactly how you described it. It's like, are they ready? And they're not clearly ready if we're fighting amongst ourselves and, we're shooting up schools because we're depressed. Or, it's just some really evil stuff we do. And I wouldn't want us to be involved.
It's a reactionary test, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? It's all, based on how we react to the situation.
Isn't that
right?
odd that you could relate that to what, religions say that God does to us? And I don't want to upset anyone or try to be religious or anything like that, but just I like to compare things and just sit back and go, like, look at that puzzle kind of forming together, whatever have you. Like, what I always hear, if you're having, the worst day of your life, or you're having a streak of bad luck, it's God testing you. And then we always have these similarities to, in my opinion, to the extraterrestrials that we see in our life, that we could say, like, hey, if we look deep into our past, what if we are a creation of, that life we're looking for right now? Like what if we are this little, nest egg or this petri dish of experiment?
Well, I think that some people definitely try to put that God complex on aliens, I guess, as far as what they expect aliens to be. You know what I mean?
You're right.
But I think that's
going too far off the deep end here. I apologize.
No, hey, I'm all about the deep end,
dude.
man. It's fun to talk about stuff.
Hey, you know what? I can see the rabbit hole right in front of me. I'm gonna take a fucking deep dive into it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, I'm ready. Let's fucking do this shit. I'm gonna squeeze through that hole. I already have the fucking KY jelly wrapped around my shoulders and stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a little bit of extra butter too because I'm a little overweight. So
I use hand sanitizer.
Hey, if it's necessary, dude. Let's do this shit.
Ow.
I'm ready and willing. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Agent ETA ready to go deep
hey.
on an estimated time of arrival.
Oh, good Lord. I hope I don't regret saying that.
Edit.
I already
You
do.
probably will.
No, fuck that. Don't edit that shit. I keep that shit in, baby.
Yeah. All right. Where were we? So that was one of the skeptical explanations, just to, Joe, that's a nice segue. Good segue,
right? I don't know where the hell that comes from. I've seen asteroids move.
Oh no.
I've seen asteroids fall into Earth's atmosphere, and I've also heard that it crumble apart. But I've never seen it.
Every time I see a comet or like an asteroid, I always think, after the fact, of course, Jupiter.
Yeah.
Jupiter, you kooky little planet, you little devious thing you are.
Oh, you got me again, didn't you? Look at yourself.
Yeah. You son of a bitch, you.
Or Saturn. Sometimes Saturn can be a little mischievous little son of a bitch, too.
We got to work up to an episode dedicated to Philip J. Ass. I meant class. Honestly, he's come up with some serious curveballs when it comes to paying off witnesses and, making up these theories that, pilots, these trained pilots that have, dedicated their lives to being a badass fucking pilot, somehow squeezing their giant balls of steel into that cockpit. Now they're following, they're tired, they're loopy, they're following Jupiter, they're following celestial bodies.
There's a bit of tomfoolery, malarkey, and shenanigans.
Did I miss that whole train, that gravy train of just shitting on that dude? I think I did. But
no, we actually haven't done it. I don't talk a whole lot about the skeptics other than once, I like to address them, but if I ever find a skeptical explanation that holds water
right on them.
Yeah. If I ever find one that holds water, I will definitely discuss it, but they never do. They never make any sense at all. It's really hard to find a good skeptical explanation. They're usually
sometimes the base level of what they're arguing is very rational, and it's very much so based on rational thought process. But then when you move past that first wall, I guess you could say, there's not a whole lot that really stands up towards criticism, I guess, from my perspective, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. Well, because for this case, for example, one of the skeptical explanations I was reading about on this case, the skeptic just straight up says, okay, if we ignore, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, if we ignore everything but this stuff, so basically he's just discarding most of the information and just picking what he wants to use for his own debunking attempt. But
low-hanging fruit.
The interesting thing is that they actually admitted it. When I was reading it, they just said, okay, we're going to just discard most of this stuff and just use the bits that I want, essentially. It was crazy. I've never seen them just preface their explanation by saying, we're just going to cheat, lie, and steal here. They usually kind of do it sleight of hand, try to get you to not notice it.
Yeah. Totally agree.
But yeah, no, I agree. And if we do an episode on Philip Klass, we're also going to have to talk about his good old buddy pal, Mr. Menzel there, but that's another topic for another time.
All right.
That gets real interesting real quick.
I got heated all of a sudden. Now I'm all pissed.
Wait, no, is that the Himmler or is that the Hitler of the
What?
No.
I'm saying of the not these the anti-UFO party. I'm trying to make them sound like fascists, but I think that's a dead joke right there. So I'll stop
it's something else, But yeah, we'll get to that maybe at a different time. But yeah, did you have any other skeptical explanations besides Jupiter? Maybe a mirage of the planet or the star Canopus or something weird like that? I didn't.
Flash Gordon usually came into play. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, I would say
the star Canopus. I really don't see as a very good explanation because I know people have claimed that cannabis is like a hallucinogen of some sort. Some people claim. I don't know if you've ever experienced cannabis or not, but like. No, dude.
Did he? Is that what he used? Is that what he said, that this was like everybody was just high?
No, it was a play. It was a play on words.
Yeah, the star Canopus. So remember, last one.
Sorry. Well,
last one or the one before it, whatever. One of our last ones. One of the explanations was a mirage of the star Canopus, right? That was the Lonnie Zamora sighting. Remember, where he's seeing all these blue and orange flames and all kinds of crazy stuff, crafts and insignias, and he's like, no, it's just a mirage or dust devils.
That's
or whatever.
right. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much all I had for this case. Did you guys have anything else?
I kind of wanted to just tap back on, like, did you guys, two things. When it comes back to the debunking, he also mentioned that the radars were set to manual track mode, or whatever the hell it was just user error in the end.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Well, there's one. All right. So there's one other big thing that I really wanted to talk about, actually, as far as debunking goes, is that the first F4 Phantom that was sent out, supposedly, it had a long track record of malfunctions, but the pilot that was flying this aircraft was familiar with the malfunctions and very familiar with the way it went down, I guess you could say. And he said that the way that things malfunctioned during this experience, what did not line up with the previous type of malfunctions that he had with this particular aircraft beforehand. And there was a track record, but it didn't line up with what had happened that day. You know what I mean? That morning.
Two separate aircraft experienced the same issue. That's all I need to hear. Is not
three.
Not the same. No, they
similar,
both experienced,
if anything. I'm saying
they both experienced problems, but not the same issues exactly.
Not going into the event. I'm talking more so the first F4 experienced its problems. The pilot is already familiar with its long history of problems, but this tonight is different from what he's used to. Same with the other plane.
The debunks, I think, I didn't look into them that much this time. Sometimes I do just to try to get all the amusing ones, but Jupiter is the major one, and you're not going to get incompetent pilots, so that one's pretty much nonsense. But yeah, so I think that this is a really credible case, and I think they saw something weird, and a lot of civilians saw something weird. What it was, who knows? But I think obviously we didn't have anything at the time, and probably still don't, that could perform like this thing did. So obviously that leaves the idea that it could be extraterrestrial, but we don't know for sure. So we just have to, leave it as an open question, I suppose.
Are we coming up to a point where we're going to get... never mind. It just, I thought there's only so long that they can hold information from us until it has to become public.
Well, maybe for the United States government, but not for...
I'm an idiot. Never mind.
No, well, here's the thing, though. Even if they say we're going to release stuff, they have plenty of time to lose it, to redact it, to change it. Like I mentioned the Black Vault earlier, you can go on there and look at documents where there's pages and pages and pages where literally everything is redacted, And that you're like, come on, guys. I'm sure there's a few thes and is's in there that you could leave unredacted, right? All of it, come on. But they're just doing that to be stinkers.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah, no, it's funny. Some of the stuff that is released, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and then the redactions are literally the entire conversation.
The juice.
Like,
Right.
no, literally the whole entire page of whatever has been scanned. Because a lot of times what you're looking at is like it appears to be a scanned document, you know, and literally every damn word on that document is blacked out. Literally every word, besides maybe the document number. Like you might be, or I'm looking at document number, you know, 00075, let's just say, right? But you have no idea what that means because not a single word on that freaking page is actually legible to you. You know, I mean, it's all blacked out, literally all of it. But somehow at the same time, it has been released to the public.
Yeah. Well, and we know for a fact that
Or
they've
leaked.
destroyed documents in the past, like for Project MK Ultra, which would be a good case, by the way. But Project
Yes.
MK Ultra,
Oh,
they
the
destroyed
best,
almost
one of the best cases.
Yeah. They destroyed almost all the documents for that. The only reason we have anything is because they misfiled. They put some documents in the wrong place and somebody accidentally found them or something like that. But they destroyed all those documents when they weren't supposed to. So,
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I think that we have to do a damn case about MK Ultra
Oh,
eventually.
yeah.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
Majestic 12.
a summary, I'll give you a summary of Project MK Ultra. The short version is decades of shenanigans and tomfoolery. That's the short version.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, and that is just on the surface level, really.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say decades is because it went on for a really long time, and the stuff they were trying to do, I'm 100% sure they rolled it into newer projects and they just called it something else, and we don't know what it
Yeah.
is anymore. Well, we've gone like really far afield. I think it's about time to wrap this one up. Thanks for listening. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. We also have an email address, alienconpod@protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to tune in next time for a topic we have not yet decided upon.